A Hollywood insider just broke their silence, and what they revealed about elite private parties is absolutely insane. We're talking about secret gatherings that only the most powerful people in the industry get invited to, where A-list celebrities, politicians, and billionaires allegedly engage in activities that would destroy their careers if the public ever found out. From bizarre rituals and substance abuse to alleged blackmail operations and things that honestly sound too dark to even be real. This insider, who worked as a handler for one of the biggest talent agencies in Hollywood for over a decade, has finally decided to expose everything. And the stuff they're claiming is genuinely disturbing. I mean, we've all heard rumors about what goes on behind closed doors in Hollywood, but this is the first time someone with actual access and credibility has come forward with specific details, names, and locations. And now the elites are scrambling. Lawyers are sending cease and desist letters. PR teams are working overtime to discredit the whistleblower, and some of the biggest names in entertainment are reportedly terrified that more information is going to come out. Because this isn't just gossip or conspiracy theories anymore. This is someone who was actually there, who saw things firsthand, and who has receipts to back up their claims. And honestly, after hearing what this person has to say, I don't think Hollywood is ever going to be the same again. Let me start by explaining who this insider is, because their credibility is what makes this whole thing so explosive. The whistleblower, who's going by the alias Marcus Reed to protect their identity, worked for one of the big four talent agencies in Los Angeles from 2012 to 2023. Their job was basically to manage logistics for high-profile clients, which meant coordinating travel, arranging accommodations, and yes, organizing private events. Marcus had access to guest lists, contracts, and even security footage from some of these parties. And after years of staying silent, they finally decided to speak out through an anonymous interview with an independent journalist. In the interview, Marcus explained that they kept quiet for so long because they were bound by multiple NDAs and feared retaliation. But after witnessing something particularly disturbing at a party in late 2022, they started secretly documenting everything, taking photos, saving emails, and recording conversations. And now, they're ready to expose the truth. Because according to Marcus, what happens at these elite gatherings isn't just morally questionable, it's allegedly illegal. And the fact that so many powerful people have been getting away with it for decades is what finally pushed them to come forward. So, what exactly happens at these private parties? According to Marcus, the events are usually held at massive estates in Beverly Hills, Malibu, or sometimes on private islands. The guest lists are extremely exclusive. We're talking about Oscar winners, Grammy winners, billionaire tech, CEOs, high-ranking politicians, and even members of royal families from other countries. Security at these parties is insane. Everyone has to sign NDAs before entering. Phones are either confiscated or placed in locked pouches. And there are armed guards stationed at every entrance to make sure no unauthorized people get in. Marcus describes the atmosphere as something out of a dystopian movie. Dim lighting, expensive decor, and an eerie sense that everyone there is hiding something. The parties usually start off normal enough with cocktails, networking, and small talk. But as the night goes on, things allegedly take a very dark turn. One of the first major allegations Marcus makes is about the rampant drug use at these events. And we're not talking about casual recreational use. Marcus claims that there are entire rooms dedicated to different substances. One room for cocaine, another for psychedelics like mushrooms and ayahuasca, and even a room where people allegedly use harder drugs that I'm not even going to name here. Marcus says that dealers are brought in specifically for these parties, and that the hosts make sure there's an endless supply. The craziest part is that some of these substances are allegedly laced or mixed with things to make people more compliant and suggestible. Marcus claims they witnessed multiple instances where guests were given drinks or pills without being fully informed of what was in them. And when people started acting strange or losing control, nobody seemed concerned. It was just treated as normal. Marcus also alleges that there are medical staff on site at these parties, not to help people if they overdose, but to make sure nobody dies on the property. Because if someone were to die at one of these events, it would be a PR nightmare. So instead, they have doctors and nurses who monitor people and intervene just enough to keep them alive. But they don't actually try to stop the drug use. They just manage it. And honestly, that's terrifying because it shows that these people know what they're doing is dangerous, but they just don't care. But the drug use is honestly just the tip of the iceberg. Marcus also talks about the alleged sexual exploitation that happens at these parties. And this is where things get really dark. According to Marcus, there are often young models, actors, and aspiring entertainers at these events who are brought in by handlers or agents. These people are usually in their early 20s, sometimes even younger. And they're told that attending these parties is a networking opportunity, a chance to meet powerful people who can help their careers. But what they're not told is what's actually expected of them. Marcus claims that these young people are often pressured or coerced into sexual situations with the elite guests. Sometimes it's subtle. A powerful producer or director will start a conversation offer to help with their career and then make it clear that there's a price. Other times, it's more overt. Marcus describes instances where young women and men were essentially passed around at these parties, treated like objects rather than people. And if they refused or tried to leave, they were threatened, told that they would never work in the industry again, that their careers would be destroyed before they even started. And because these people are desperate to make it in Hollywood, they often go along with it, even though it's clearly exploitation. Marcus also alleges that some of these parties involve blackmail operations. They claim that there are hidden cameras set up throughout the properties, in bedrooms, bathrooms, and even in the drug rooms, and everything is being recorded. The purpose, according to Marcus, is to gather compromising material on powerful people, so that if they ever step out of line or try to expose what's happening, they can be controlled. Marcus says they personally saw footage of high-profile celebrities, politicians, and business leaders in extremely compromising situations. And this footage is allegedly stored in secure locations and used as leverage. It's basically a system of mutually assured destruction. Everyone at these parties has dirt on everyone else, so nobody talks. Because if one person goes down, they're taking everyone with them. And honestly, this explains so much about why certain people in Hollywood seem untouchable, why scandals get buried, why accusations disappear. It's because there's an entire network of powerful people protecting each other, and they're using blackmail and fear to keep everyone in line. Now, you might be wondering why Marcus is coming forward now after staying silent for so long. In the interview, they explained that in December 2022, they attended a party where they witnessed something that crossed a line even for them. Marcus won't go into full detail about what they saw because they're saving that information for potential legal proceedings. But they described it as something involving minors. And that was the moment they decided they couldn't be complicit anymore. They started documenting everything they could, taking screenshots of guest lists, recording conversations when possible, and gathering any evidence that could prove what was happening. And then in early 2024, they quit their job and went into hiding. They've been living under a different name, staying with friends, and moving locations frequently because they're genuinely afraid for their safety. And honestly, I don't blame them, because the people they're exposing have the resources to make problems disappear. And Marcus knows that. When the interview with Marcus was published in February 2025, the internet went absolutely insane. The article was shared millions of times on Twitter, Reddit, and TikTok. Hashtags like Hollywood Exposed and Elite Parties were trending worldwide. People were analyzing every word, trying to figure out which celebrities Marcus might be talking about. And the conspiracy theory communities were having a field day because a lot of what Marcus described aligns with things that people have been speculating about for years. But here's the thing, Marcus didn't name specific names in the initial interview. They talked about the parties in general terms and described the types of people who attend, but they didn't point fingers at individual celebrities. And that's strategic, because naming names without concrete proof could open them up to defamation lawsuits. So instead, Marcus and the journalist who interviewed them are holding on to the detailed information. And they've said that they're willing to cooperate with law enforcement if an investigation is opened. But so far, no official investigation has been announced, which honestly is suspicious in itself. The response from Hollywood has been predictable. Within hours of the article being published, multiple law firms released statements on behalf of unnamed clients calling the allegations baseless and defamatory. One statement said that these claims are nothing more than the fantasies of a disgruntled former employee seeking attention. Another said that the so-called whistleblower has provided no evidence to support their outrageous accusations. But here's what's interesting. None of these statements actually denied that the parties happen. They just denied that anything illegal or inappropriate occurs at them, which is a very careful way of wording things, because these parties definitely exist. There are photos on social media of celebrities at exclusive events. There are rumors that have been circulating for years, so the elites can't deny that the parties happen. They can only deny what allegedly goes on behind closed doors. And that's exactly what they're doing. But the PR pushback didn't stop at statements. According to sources close to Marcus, there have been multiple attempts to discredit them personally. Suddenly, articles started appearing online claiming that Marcus had a history of mental illness, that they were fired from their agency job for stealing, that they're a known liar and attention seeker. And Marcus addressed this in a follow-up interview, saying that this is exactly what they expected, that the elites would try to destroy their credibility before people could take the allegations seriously. And honestly, when you look at the timeline, it's pretty obvious what's happening. These hit pieces started appearing within 24 hours of the original interview, which means they were coordinated. Someone with resources and connections mobilized a smear campaign almost immediately. And that kind of rapid response doesn't happen unless there's something to hide. There's also been speculation about which specific parties Marcus is referring to. And based on the details they've provided, people have started connecting dots. There are rumors that some of the events Marcus described matched the timeline and location of parties hosted by certain mega producers and studio executives. Events that have been whispered about in Hollywood for years but never confirmed. One name that keeps coming up in online discussions is a billionaire who's known for throwing lavish parties on his private island. Marcus never confirmed or denied whether they're talking about this person, but the internet has run with it. And now this billionaire is reportedly threatening legal action against anyone who suggests he's involved, which again is a very defensive response for someone who claims to have nothing to hide. Another interesting development is that since Marcus came forward, several other people have started speaking out anonymously. Former assistants, bodyguards, and even a few lower-level celebrities have shared their own stories about attending these elite parties or hearing about them secondhand. And while none of them have provided the level of detail that Marcus has, their accounts corroborate a lot of what Marcus described. Stories about excessive drug use, about young people being exploited, about a culture of secrecy and fear. And the more people who come forward, the harder it becomes to dismiss these allegations as the ramblings of one disgruntled employee, because now there's a pattern, and patterns are hard to ignore. Legal experts have weighed in on the situation and opinions are mixed. Some believe that Marcus has enough evidence to potentially trigger an investigation, especially if the allegations about minors are true. Others are skeptical, saying that NDAs and lack of concrete proof will make it nearly impossible to prosecute anyone. One lawyer who specializes in entertainment law said in an interview that even if everything Marcus is claiming is true, proving it in court is a different story. Because these parties are designed to be untraceable. No paper trails, no digital evidence. Just word of mouth and mutual agreements, and the people who attend are powerful enough to make witnesses disappear or recant their statements. So unless Marcus has video or audio recordings that are admissible in court, it's going to be very difficult to hold anyone accountable. But here's where things get interesting. In a cryptic post on an anonymous forum that's believed to be run by Marcus, they hinted that they do have recordings. They said, "I didn't spend a decade in this industry without learning how to protect myself." And they suggested that the evidence is stored in multiple secure locations and will be released if anything happens to them. Which honestly sounds like something out of a spy movie, but given what's at stake, it makes sense. Because if Marcus really does have recordings of illegal activity involving some of the most powerful people in the world, then they're sitting on a ticking time bomb, and the elites know it. Which is probably why we're seeing such an aggressive response. The public reaction to all of this has been fascinating. On one hand, you have people who fully believe Marcus and are calling for investigations, arrests, and a complete overhaul of the entertainment industry. On the other hand, you have people who think this is all a publicity stunt or a conspiracy theory that's gotten out of control. And then there's a third group who believe that while the parties probably do happen, the allegations are being exaggerated. That what Marcus describes as exploitation might just be adults making questionable choices. And honestly, I think the truth is probably somewhere in between. I don't think every single thing Marcus claims is accurate down to the last detail. But I also don't think they're making everything up. Because why would they? They've gone into hiding. They're facing legal threats. Their career in Hollywood is over. What do they have to gain from lying? What's frustrating to me is that we might never actually know the full truth. Because these allegations involve people with unlimited resources. People who can buy silence, who can manipulate media narratives, who can make evidence disappear. And unless there's a legitimate investigation by law enforcement that can't be influenced or bought, we're probably just going to see this story fade away. The elites will weather the storm. Marcus will eventually stop doing interviews, and life in Hollywood will go on as usual. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope that this is the beginning of real accountability. Because if even half of what Marcus is claiming is true, then there are some seriously dark things happening in the entertainment industry, and the people responsible need to be held accountable. I don't like to be the conspiracy theory guy, but after hearing Marcus's account and seeing how aggressively the elites have responded, I genuinely believe there's something here. You don't mobilize an entire PR campaign and threaten legal action over baseless rumors. You do that when you're scared, when you have something to hide. And the fact that so many powerful people are trying so hard to discredit Marcus tells me that they're worried. Because maybe, just maybe, the walls are starting to close in. And honestly, that's what Hollywood needs. Accountability, transparency, and an end to the culture of secrecy that's allowed exploitation and abuse to thrive for decades. Whether that actually happens remains to be seen. But at least now people are paying attention. And sometimes that's the first step toward real change.